because there are lots of long corners, and so you need a good front end on your car. So it tends to be those cars that run well here. The exception to the rule being Ferrari. Ferrari always run well here, and that's sort of mid-engine car, but Ferrari is a really well-balanced machine that seems to work well in most circuits.
I guess it's not too warm for Amarex today.
Oh, I don't think why not.
I'm impressed, mate. I'm impressed. I just still sit here as a fan in the box and I'm getting excited. That's about my opinion after that. I don't know.
Hello everybody and welcome to Silverstone for the second half of the International GT Open season. We've already had 8 races so far this year. We've got 6 to go. And as we come to the end of the summer break, it is a sunny weekend at the home of the British Grand Prix that greets a field of 25 supercars taking to the circuit for 30 minutes. That's going to set the grid for the 9th race of the campaign. It's a warm welcome from myself, Ben Evans, as already the cars leaping out of the pits, heading through Stowe and the Vale. In terms of the championship then, well, coming to the weekend, it's Michael Mack in the Luzik Racing Ferrari who leads the championship standings. He's 10 points clear of the Teo Marti Motorsport pairing of Andres Saravia and Fran Rueda. Sandro Pierguidi is currently 3rd in the points, but he of course missed a round, so can't, and repartners Max, so essentially can't challenge for the championship. In Pirelli Racing Lamborghini pairing of Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull, Venturini, reigning champion, 4th in the standings, clear of Daniele Diamato in the RS Racing Ferrari in 5th. Riccardo Agostini and Rick Breukers, runners-up last time out at the Hungaro Ring, 6th. So that is how the overall championship looks. In terms of the Pro-Am Championship, Fabrizio Crestani and Miguel Ramos lead the way. They're 3 points clear of Tom Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg, with Marcello Hahn then 3rd. And the AM Championship, Andrei Lewandowski and Guido Borlenghi lead the way from Miro Konopka, and then Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva in 3rd. 25-car entry this weekend. A couple of new faces on the grid to get up to speed with. First of all, the addition of the Team Parker Racing Bentley, Ian Logie and Callum McLeod in the car this weekend, and it is Logie who will take to qualifying this morning in their Pro-Am entry. So we follow the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan pairing with Miguel Ramos, the Pro-Am Championship leader, former champion of course, leading his British teammate Toby Sowry. Be looking for a strong home showing as they come out of Beckett down the Hangar Straight. Meanwhile, in the RS Racing Ferrari, Andrea Montermini back alongside Daniele Diamato this weekend, and it's Alex Frasanti who partners Damiano Fioravanti in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini Huracan. So a very, very full grid of cars. Of course, tyre management of their allocated set of Michelin tyres is going to be key through the course of the weekend. So it'll be fascinating seeing this session, just who pushes and when. And it's Sowry right in the wheel tracks of teammate Ramos, who is looking to try and make a little bit of the early running, but he slithers wide, possibly in the turbulent air behind Ramos as he comes through Abbey and Farm. And the brakes into Village, and Sowry necessarily having to back out of that lap. Still got a good number of cars left in the pit lane, as we would expect to see, because some of them will come out and look to post just a solitary flying run, trying to keep the tyres for tomorrow and for the racing later on today. Others will be fighting as hard as they can for a grid position. However, compared to the Hungaro Ring back in July, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit really is somewhere that you can overtake. There is the Team Parker Racing Bentley in the hands of Ian Logie. Logie, experienced GT campaigner, as we go in car with the Bentley. Accelerates through Stowe into the Vale. Team Parker Racing, one of the top GT squads based in the United Kingdom. So the Bentley burbles its way out of club. Logie powers past the wing pits on towards Abbey. Tyres squeal for traction. This car was the quickest in free practice yesterday as well. And Loggie's co-pilot, the very, very versatile and rapid Callum McLeod. Meanwhile, quickest driver in the session so far is Valentin Pierberg, and he is just 10th of a second clear of his Pro-Am Championship rival, Miguel Ramos, with Ricardo Baptista then currently third in the Corvex Mercedes that he shares with Kaka Buenu. And they made their entry to the championship last time out at the Hungaroring as Rick Breukers in one of the trio of Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans goes fastest, a 1 minute 59.016. Breukers and Agostini looking really good at the Hungaroring, and they will be hoping to challenge for their first victory of the season. Loggie powers through, goes third. Bradley Ellis, meanwhile, in the Optimum Motorsport Audi, another all-British driver pairing, a British team, Ellis and Ollie Wilkinson. And they have gone up into second place. Here is the car that's second in the championship, meanwhile. That is the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Fran Rueda at the wheel, and Rueda has been absolutely spectacular all the way through the season. He and Andres Saravia have scored 2 victories in the wet dry race at Paul Ricard and against Spa, and that, unfortunately, is bad news for Ricardo Baptista. The Mercedes stationary, can't quite see how he's got into that position. We can now. Car just breaking traction through Beckett's, and Baptista recovering off the road and then should rejoin without too much drama. There does remain, though, a yellow flag through this section of the circuit. Just looking in the background, looks as if the Mercedes has now rejoined the fray. Meanwhile, you just caught a glimpse there of the number 7, the AM class entry Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. And this weekend, Marcio Basso is partnered by Alexei Chuklin, the former competitor from the Euro Formula Open, and the Ukrainian making the step up to international GT3 racing. He will be out in qualifying tomorrow. It is Basso who'll set the time for today's session. So Rick Breukers is currently quickest. Second then is the Lusit Racing Ferrari of Daniel Serra, and Serra, who re-entered the championship for the first time in a decade at the Hungaroring, promptly won on his return outing alongside Marco Ciocci. Meanwhile, Bradley Ellis has lost his best lap due to track limits, but has reinstated himself rather at the top of the time. So there is Daniel Serra, one of the 3 Lusit Racing Ferraris, 2 of which are in the Pro class. Serra and Marco Ciocci, very, very rapid and able to provide front-running support to Michael Mack and Alessandro Pierguidi in their pursuit of the overall championship. So we have seen everybody on track, with the exception of the 2 Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini Huracans, Kang Ling and Andrei Lewandowski, yet to make their way out onto the circuit. As we approach the 1/3 point of the session, and it is Breukers who is quickest from Daniel Serra, just 900th of a second between them, then half-second deficit back to Bradley Ellis in 3rd. Raffaele Giammaria is in 4th, with Toby Sowery 5th from Miguel Ramos, and then Andrea Montermini in 7th, Ian Loggie 8th, Valentin Pierberg in 9th, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega currently completes the top 10. So Serra powers through. He has got Alex West in the Pro-Am Lusit Ferrari behind him. Oh, it's not been a good session at all for the Corvex Mercedes team, as that is Marcello Hahn, who has also had a bit of a moment. Spins up the slick tyre on the grass. That is unlikely to give him a whole heap of traction, as he now rejoins. And of course, Marcello Hahn alongside Alain Kader, who had that remarkable race at the Hungaroring. There is the end of it. We didn't quite see how it started. Possibly that's the exit of the Copse Corner. It's a... Oh, and another car in trouble as well, and that is Marcio Basso in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. And we'll try and pick out where that is. It's possibly on the exit of Stowe. Indeed it is. Basso, oh, the car, that's a very strange place for it to break traction. It really does. Just wonder if something didn't quite work as it should have done then. See if Basso can rejoin the fray before too long. Disappointing for him, as Andrea Montermini, on his return to the RS Racing Ferrari, peels into the pit lane. Montermini and Daniele Di Marto, they've had one victory so far this year. That came in race 2 in Paul Ricard. As Marcello Hahn rolls down the pit lane, not unsurprisingly. And Montermini does much the same as well. I think we're yet to see full hand from some of the quicker drivers in the field. Fran Rueda, meanwhile, has just popped up in 3rd place, a 1 minute 59.391. As here is one of the real potential challenges in the Pro-Am class this weekend. Rinat Salakov alongside David Perel in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Salakov and Perel having a tough time of it, it's fairly safe to say, at the Hungaroring. But Perel has put this car on pole position already this year. That came in Spa-Francorchamps. The Rinaldi Ferrari is always an immaculately turned out car and has been absolutely flying. One of the 2 cars entered by the Rinaldi squad this weekend, Daniel Kalvitz and Steve Parrow, sharing the other of the Pro-Am entries. Meanwhile, Giovanni Venturini moves up to 5th, and he now leads the charge for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan squad. So it's, or rather, he doesn't need the second of them, because Rick Breukers, his teammate, currently in pole position. So the order is Breukers from Serra, then Fran Rueda, Bradley, that's changed. Giovanni Venturini goes 3rd, a 1 minute 59.284 for Venturini. So that leaves him just over a quarter of a second to drift of the pole position mark. Salakov has got the benefit of empty track here. He's going to set his best lap of the session, however, as he blasts through. And Rinat Salakov, as a result of that effort, goes 16th, 2 minutes 1.232. Meanwhile, Fran Rueda is on a good lap in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Rueda is currently 4th, 0.375 a second adrift of pole. Oh, and Salakov pushing hard through Beckett. Car almost protesting as he hurls it through the sequence of corners. So here is Rueda coming towards the end of the 2nd sector. So he's 10th down on the very best time of the session. As the BMW picks the throttle, see what he can do through the 2nd sector. Looked a little bit hesitant for my money as he picked up the throttle out of the loop. Indeed, I just wonder if this is going to be an in-lap for Fran Rueda. Certainly doesn't, but then he's always so smooth. But to external appearances, it doesn't really seem as if that is a flying lap. No, it's not. He ducks into the pit lane. The Teo Martin pit box is right at the near end of the pit lane, so he runs down. He is pursued by Damiano Fioravanti in the Ombra Lamborghini. Fioravanti currently 9th overall in the session. And the overwhelming majority of the field are static in the pits. Briefings underway. It's also just rolling into position. There is Lorenzo Berau de Viega in number 3, Teo Martin Motorsport BMW, that he shares with Juan Cruz Alvarez. Giovanni Venturini also peels in. So it's Alessandro Pierguidi then, the championship frontrunners, who is still circulating, but again, he is possibly heading towards an in-lap. So mechanics get to work on the car of the reigning champion. Lorenzo Berra de Viega consults the timing screen, which, fortunately for him, doesn't make for brilliant reading. 14th overall, as Bradley Ellis rejoins the fray in the Optimum Motorsport Audi. Rinat Salakov continues to press on in the Rinaldi Ferrari. And Salakov using every millimetre available to him as he powers on to the hangar straight. Headlights ablaze, looks to pick his braking point for Stowe, just over the ripples of the circuit. Michelin tyre picks up the grip. Salakov picks up the throttle, accelerates downhill slightly into the Vale before that brief climb up into Farm. glances right foot again. The engine rumbles in the Ferrari. Sprint on towards Abbey. We're just over halfway through the session. Lots of drivers now begin to re-emerge for their second run. So once more, it's going to be a little bit of a shootout through the latter half of this qualifying session. This lap for Rinat Salakov. The first sector wasn't an improvement. The middle sector, which he comes to an end of now, is also not an improvement. Just wonder whether or not he will be heading towards the pits on this occasion. This run for Salakov has been about the same duration of the drivers that have peeled in already for their pit stops. Indeed it is, so Rinat Salakov into the pit lane. We've got one time disallowed, that's car 33, Daniel Karwitz, the other of the Rinaldi Ferraris, who loses his best lap. So that's going to pump him a little bit lower down the order as Andrea Montermini, meanwhile, peels out and runs down the pit lane to head back out into the session. Salakov just looking for his parking spot, which he finds now. Here is Valentin Pierberg. Meanwhile, he earned Tom Onslow Cole, having a superb time of it at the Hungaroring, finishing as runners-up in the first race, with Pierberg eventually having to concede to Daniel Serra late on, after he got caught a little bit behind a back marker, and that gave the opening to Daniel Serra, that otherwise looked like it wouldn't be forthcoming. Meanwhile, we ride in car with Valentin Pierberg, the SPS Automotive Mercedes, and his co-driver Tom Onslow Cole, very popular with the British fans, particularly based on his exploits for the British Touring Car Championship. So they will be well supported from the grandstands this weekend. As Pierberg accelerates on his way. He's got another time disallowed, that's Stefano Constantini in the Target Racing Lamborghini Huracan. So no immediate improvements through the field, but lots of drives and outlaps, and then we'll be looking to improve before too long. They've still got over a third of the session to play with as Pierberg accelerates through. This is the end of an outlap for Valentin Pierberg. He and Onslow Cole reunited for a second season at the wheel of the SPS Automotive Mercedes, and having a very successful campaign so far. Always Pierberg right on the limits of grip as he got the power down through Copse Corner to Beckett's. He's going to be catching somebody who has just emerged from the pit lane. Get a better view of that as they come down the hang straight. It's one of the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini Huracans. It's Andrei Lewandowski. Pierberg flashes his headlights at Lewandowski. Meanwhile, Bradley Ellis is on a good lap. He's just done his best middle sector of the session in the Optimum Motorsport Audi. And Ellis, who's currently 5th overall, he was a couple of tenths though adrift through the first sector. So we'll see where that leaves him when he comes through to complete lap. He remains in 5th, but it's his best lap of the session, 1 minute 59.422. So he's now 4 tenths shy of pole position as Valentin Pierberg continues behind Andrei Lewandowski. Lewandowski backs out now on the way into Abbey. That more or less allows Pierberg to pick his perfect line. Valentin Pierberg, personal best first sector of the session as well. So we'll see where this middle sector leaves him. Mercedes thunders through entry onto the Wellington straight. And Pierberg a little bit adrift through that middle sector, so he did lose some time. About a second or so, you could argue, behind Andrei Lewandowski. And the problem is, because this is a long lap here at Silverstone, that window, that qualifying window for the Michelin tyre is relatively brief, so traffic can really hurt them. Pierberg thunders through, however, 2 minutes 1.097, and so that was 4 tenths away from his best show. Meanwhile, Daniel Serra could be the man to try and find here. Daniel Serra in the Luzic Racing Ferrari has just posted his best through the first sector. 20 insult to injury, that lap time for Valentin Pierberg actually has been disqualified for track limits. So Daniel Serra, who only needs to find 900ths of a second, is on the move. Here is Miro Konopka in the ARC Bratislava car, partnered this weekend actually by the very rapid British driver Darren Burke, as Daniel Serra now is on for a very, very good lap time here. In terms of pole position, he's a couple of tenths up at the end of the second sector. The Luzik Racing Ferrari through Brooklands on towards Luffield. He picks up the throttle. Lars on his way. So is this going to be good enough for pole position, at least provisionally for Daniel Serra? It is a 1 minute 58.798. So smiles on the pit wall. It's Marco Ciocci in the middle of the picture, who shares the car with Serra. 0.2 of a second. Then Daniel Serra's advantage over Rick Breukers, who has just emerged from the pit lane to try and retaliate. Giovanni Venturini also out on track. Toby Sowry, meanwhile, has gone 8th. And he's flying in the Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan. And now the times really are starting to improve. It's Lorenzo Berau de Viega, headlights ablaze in the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. His teammate Fran Rueda remains poised in the pit lane. And Daniel Serra, job done, backing right out of the throttle. Raffaele Giammaria on a good lap. 6th overall at the moment for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. It's Lorenzo Berau de Viega on an out lap. So here comes Giammaria towards the end of his lap. Through Woodcote on towards the timing beam. Across line then for Giammaria, and he goes 4th. A 1 minute 59.305. Half a second adrift of pole position for the very experienced Italian. Out a little bit wide over the curbs at Copse. Damiano Fioravanti in the Umbra Lamborghini also on a good lap, and Fioravanti goes 3rd, a 1 minute 59.1. So the gaps between the front runners really closing up at the front of the field. It's another look at Giammaria, hard at work, and that won't have helped his chances at all through Beckett's. And indeed, evidence to prove the point. The Lamborghini just backing right out of that lap, and he will probably peel in to the pit lane. Fran Rueda now also out on track as well. Stefano Constantini, meanwhile, has gone up into 11th place in the Target Racing Lamborghini. 6 3/4 minutes to go. Kang Ling on his first and thus far only flying lap of the session. The Vincenzo Spiri Racing Lamborghini going well. Rick Breukers, meanwhile, has just gone quicker than anybody through the first sector. Damiano Fioravanti, who we watch now, is also on a good lap. So 2 of the Lamborghinis, different squads, both going very, very strongly. As we watch Fioravanti brakes into Village and the Loop. It's going to catch Toby Sowry. Does that hurt his lap at all as he runs precariously wide a tiny bit through the middle sector? Fioravanti, a couple of tenths down on where he was a lap ago. He's going to struggle really to claim that as well through the final sector. It's time to lose there, not masses of time to gain. Meanwhile, Rick Breukers is on a very, very good lap as Fioravanti accelerates through. And he does a 1 minute 59.2. Now here is Breukers. Breukers, he is provisionally on pole position by a 1/4 of a second through the first 2 sectors. Can he string it together for the remainder of the lap? Through he comes, and yes he can, a 1 minute 58.701, so that pips Daniel Serra by 97 thousandths of a second. And Rick Breukers, Riccardo Agostini, they were great at the Hungaro ring. They looked pretty good at Spa as well, and now they're flying at Silverstone, still chasing the first win of the season for the Imperiale Racing team. They've had lots of podiums, not yet an outright race win. But it's all still liable to change. Daniel Serra is coming to the end of a good lap. Giovanni Venturini's consolidated third as Serra goes back into pole. Daniel Serra, a 1 minute 58.608. So he now takes pole position by 93 thousandths of a second. Daniel Karlovitz, meanwhile, has gone 6th in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Fran Rueda is on a good lap as well, that he is coming to the close of. And this is quite the shootout for pole position. And we've still not yet seen the full hand of Alessandro Pierguidi, who's currently in 9th place in the championship leading Lusit Racing Ferrari. And Daniel Serra is on the cusp of another improvement here. Fran Rueda is towards the end of a lap, and Rueda goes third, a 1 minute 58.8. That puts him 0.2 of a second away from his provisional pole position. Giovanni Venturini's on a good lap. Rick Breukers not such a good lap. Kang Ling, meanwhile, has gone 14th on his first flying lap. 3.5 minutes to go, so they are going to have time for 1, maybe 2 more laps when they cross the timing beam. Daniel Serra, just slight squeal of the tyres as he gets on the brakes as late as he dares for Village into the loop. Picks up the throttle. And he's a little bit adrift of his best as a result of the middle sector. So that's an opportunity that might go away, Daniel Serra. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Beirao de Viega has popped up into 11th place. 2 3/4 minutes left on the clock. Nobody at the very, very front of the field posting blue on our timing screens at the moment. Here is Fran Rueda. Rueda accelerating through his 0.3 away from pole through the middle sector, but he's going to have time for 1 more lap. As he heads around Luffield, will look to get the power down. He will hope that he's going to have a reasonably clear track. Suggestion from that camera angle is that he's going to get it as well. So through goes Rueda onto his final spin of the dice. Spin of the wheel, rather, roll of the dice. As Giovanni Venturini up through the first sector on this lap. It's Rafael Legia Maria about to embark on his last lap of the session. Alessandro Pierguidi still down in 9th place in the Lusit Racing Ferrari. Just wonder, though, whether he and Mikael Maka are going to have a favourable tyre situation the remainder of the weekend. So here comes Venturini, and he aborts the lap, peels into the pits. Fran Rueda, though, has just posted a personal best through the first sector. Also in and down the pit lane is Bradley Ellis. We've barely even mentioned the Pro-Am class. It's Gia Maria who's currently got Pro-Am pole from Daniel Karlovitz, and then Bradley Ellis. It's Andrei Lewandowski in Am class pole from Alexandra Raquina and Miro Konopka. So Fran Rueda, he was up a little bit, 96 thousandths of a second advantage through the first sector. Also onto a good lap is Alessandro Pierguidi. So this grid is far from settled just yet as Rueda heads on to the Wellington Straight, but again, it's gone away from him through the middle sector. I just wonder if he's going to abort this lap. He's not going to find half a second through the final sector. The way he's turning through, Luffield suggests that he is going to head immediately to the pit lane. So of those still circulating, as the checkered flag comes out now, it's Alessandro Pierguidi, who possibly could spring a surprise, but again, his middle sector suggests maybe not. But he earned Mikael Mack's best lap of the session if he's able to retain that sort of deficit. It's not going, might buy him 1 or 2 positions on the grid, but not a lot more than that. It's Teo Martin watches impassively at the timing screen. 3rd on the grid though. No disaster for Fran Rueda, as across the line does come Pierguidi. He doesn't in fact improve, so he takes the flag to 9th place. But it is going to be a pole position once more for the Luzit Racing Ferrari squad. This time it's Daniel Serra who has done the business. 93 thousandths of a second clear of Rick Breukers. One or 2 more cars still just to come through and take the checkered flag, but none of those cars circulating looking likely to make anything in the way of an improvement. So we should be in for a thrilling race later on this afternoon. We are due to get underway with the green flag lap at 3:10 British summer time. So if you're watching Central European time, that would be 4:10. Big smile from Marco Ciocci. So he goes to debrief Daniel Serra. I think that session was hard work, really having to push to get every thousandth of a second out of the car. So look then at the provisional classification. Pole position to Daniel Serra. He'll share the front row of the grid in the Luzit Racing Ferrari with the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini of Rick Breukers. Fran Rueda starts 3rd ahead of Giovanni Venturini. Damiano Fioravanti in 5th. Raffaele Giammaria Pro-Am pole ahead of Daniel Karlvitz and Bradley Ellis, with Alessandro Pierguidi and Toby Sowry rounding out the top 10. To move on down through the grid, Lorenzo Berard Viega shares the 6th row with Andrea Montermini. Then Stefano Constantini from Miguel Ramos. Kang Ling in 15th, ahead of Ian Loggy in the Team Parker Racing Bentley. Valentin Pierberg 17th from Rinat Salikov, Ricardo Baptista and Marcello Hahn. And then Alexander West 21st. Andrei Lewandowski taking AM-class pole from Alexandra Raquina. Miro Konotka and Marcio Basso round out the field. We'll be back just after 3 o'clock British summer time for the 9th race of the International GT Open season. Until then, it's goodbye from Silverstone.